How many informational interviews should you do before you say, I have enough info, I'm ready to move on to the planning phase of making my career plan? I would like to answer that question in this video today, and I'm gonna do so by starting off with this little bit. Realize that when you get to the point of doing informational interviews, you do not yet have locked in what your dream job is. You've done some online research and you've narrowed down the jobs that you find interesting enough to potentially pursue, and now you're ready to talk to some people face to face to really clarify that your online research is true and that you still have genuine interest in pursuing some of these jobs. So likely you should have a little less than 10 jobs that you're considering at this point, and you're gonna trial and error and figure out which ones are your top 2 or 3. So when you do your first few, likely you will interview some jobs, and through the information you will gain from talking to people in these informational interviews, you'll realize that some of the jobs that sounded good based on your online research are not quite what you thought they were, and so you can just cross those ones off the list. But let's say that you get to the end of an informational interview about a job that sounded good, and you really still are excited about potentially pursuing this job. You think it might be your dream job. This is wonderful news. And so at this point, now let me answer the initial question of how many informational interviews should you do before you're ready to move on to the planning phase? The magic number, in my opinion, is 2. At least 2 different informational interviews about the same job, but with 2 different people at different companies or locations. Let me say that again. I think you should do at least 2 different informational interviews, one with each of 2 different companies that have the same job title. So for example, when I was doing informational interviews, being a school counselor for high school was one of the jobs that I was considering pursuing. So I went did an informational interview with a school counselor at one school and another informational interview with a school counselor, same job title, but at a different high school. I also went and found somebody that did mental health private practice counseling as a full-time job, that was their own gig, and somebody else that did a part-time job as their own gig. And so if you had an interest of doing a job as let's say a lawyer, you would want to do an informational interview with a lawyer at firm A and another informational interview with a lawyer from a separate law firm. Here's why. First of all, no 2 people have the same experience, so no 2 people are gonna have the same opinions to share with you. And the second bit of that, and this is important, this is kind of neat. Most people don't realize that the same job title at 2 different companies may sound so different when talking to people that hold those same job titles because the company cultures are different. Most people do not consider the company culture when they are looking for what job they want to pursue, especially at this early on at this stage in their career planning and preparation. Imagine if you said, you know what, I've done research, my online research for this job. I've even talked to a few people that have this job title, and the job responsibilities are all fairly similar, and it really sounds intriguing to me. I think I would not only be excited to do it, but I would be good at it. But then you neglect to consider that the company culture is going to be so different. And so you get all Twitter-pated and over the moon excited to do this dream job, hold this dream job title, and you get into a company that you didn't do research for what it was like at that company, and then you get discouraged because the company culture is not a culture that fits what you were expecting, and it kills your whole mood, and you think you were a crappy planner, yada, yada, yada. You need to be attentive to what the company culture is like, and you will get a lot of that information just based on the opinions that people have from working, again, the same job title, but at different companies. So I hope you've done a few informational interviews by now. If not, get out there and start doing them. Remember, people are not going to be shy about telling you what they spend a lot of waking hours of their day doing. It's a lot of people's pride and joy, what they've developed so many skills for. They are going to feel like you have put them on a stage front and center with the mic in their face, and you are the captive audience for them to tell about all of their successes and their skills that a lot of people don't ask them very often about. So don't hesitate to ask people for informational interviews. Go do, again, at least 2 informational interviews about the same job you're excited about at 2 different companies or more, to find out not only different opinions, but learn about different company cultures despite having the same job title. That's informational interviews. I hope you enjoy them and go find a lot of benefit from doing so. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.